Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare,
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitabhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. गुरुदेव की जय. All glories to all the assembled devotees here. Please accept my humble obeisances. My name is Chinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi. Welcoming all of you to this mid-morning japa session. I thank all of you for attending this session and please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. Now we move on to the next part of our session today, which is a class on Caitanya Bhagavat. And may I know who all have joined today so that I can greet you.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your warm welcoming, and thanks to all the devotees for the very beautiful chanting. This is Preeti Vilasini Devi Dasi from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. And thank you so much, Mataji, for hosting and for everything. Welcome to the call, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas, and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirti Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Kirti Dasi. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your appreciation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This is Gandharvika Devi Dasi from Texas.
Navinita Gandharvika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila. All glories to Srila. Welcome to Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Aji Chinmayi Vrajpriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vrinda.
Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to the call, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago.
Check the audio port, Mataji.
You hear me now, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, yes.
You like to introduce themselves? Is Mataji in the call?
You're not audible, Mataji.
Now, Mataji, can you hear me now?
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. So let me read today's Srila Prabhupada quote. So today's quote is, if you want perfection in your business, then you must try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, you are simply wasting your time. And this was said by His Divine Grace to the Bharat Chamber of Commerce in Calcutta on January 30th, 1973. So today we have our Chaitanya Bhagavat class given by Her Grace Radhabhava Dasi Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances and welcome to the call, Mataji. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and association. And Mataji will be enlightening us on Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda, chapter 16th, from verse.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you all hear me?
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So today we will be continuing Chaitanya Bhagavat and I will be covering, I was asked to cover from verse 103 to 115. So we will start with Mangala Charan prayers. Om Adnyanti Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we will continue from text 103 of chapter 16 from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Kirtida Sundari Mataji very wonderfully explained to us before this how Haridas Thakur had started being beaten up and he was asked to stop his activities, but he declined. And he even said that even if my bodies were cut into pieces, I am ready to give it up, but I will not give up chanting. So after hearing this, the Qazi ordered all his soldiers to beat him up in 22 marketplaces. And he said that if he survives this beating, only then maybe he's actually knowledgeable and his words will be true. So we will look into that. And then the Qazi ordered him to start beating him so that he will die. Do not leave him alive, was his instruction. So on these instructions, Haridas Thakur was whipped. And as he was being whipped, Haridas Thakur simply remembered the names of Krishna, and on account of his ecstatic remembrance of Lord Chaitanya, of Lord Krishna, he felt no pain. So now we'll be reading text 103. देखी हरिदास देहे अत्यंत प्रहार सुजन सकल दुख भावेन अपार. The pious people were greatly distressed to see the excessive beating of Haridas. Hearing and seeing the severe beating and unjustified oppression of Thakur Haridas, the saintly persons became extremely distressed. Some of them openly declared, for oppressing the Vaishnavas in this way, great inauspiciousness will soon fall on this kingdom. Simply as a result of torturing the Vaishnavas, the world faces various miseries like famine, drought, plague, and war. Kahe bale uchana haibe sarva rajya se nimitte sujanera kore hena karya. Someone said the entire kingdom will be destroyed because they are torturing such a saintly person. Raja ujerere keha shapa krodha mane maramari korite o uthe kona jane. Someone angrily cursed the governor and the Qazi, and someone else was prepared to fight them. As a result of the Muslims' misbehavior towards Haridas Thakur, the sadhus became most angry and displeased at heart. Some of them even mentally cursed the governor and the minister, and some sowed the seeds of discontent in order to bring about a revolution in the state. Keha giya yavana ganera paya dhare kichu diba alpa kori maraha uhare. Another person fell at the feet of the Muslims and said, I'll give you some mercy if you don't beat him so hard. Some of them fell at the feet of the Muslims who were mercilessly beating Haridas and begged their mercy to spare his life. And some of them tried to stop the beating with bribes. Tathapi daya nahi janme papi gane bajare mare maha krodha mane. Nevertheless, the sinful guards showed no mercy, and they angrily continued beating Haridas from market to market. So here we are seeing that Haridas Thakur is being beaten mercilessly by the Muslim soldiers. So in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a site from Skanda Puran. We all know this. It's a very wonderful reminder for us. Hanti nindati vaidveshti Vaishnavan nabhinandati krudhyate yati no harsham darshane patanani sat. Means whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnava, or whoever is envious of a Vaishnava, or whoever gets angry with him, or does not offer obeisances or feel joy upon seeing him, certainly falls into a hellish condition. So we are seeing here that a lot of Vaishnava aparadha is going on here. All the Vaishnavas are displeased. All the Vaishnavas are begging the soldiers, the Muslim soldiers, to stop this torture to Haridas Thakur, to stop this injustice. So all the Vaishnavas are in pain. Not only that, Haridas Thakur, who is one of the most exalted Vaishnavas, is being tortured. Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, he says, Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayam tvaham mad anyate na jananti naham tebhyo managapi. What does the Supreme Personality of Godhead say here? He says the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. Sadhavo hridayam mayam. They're always in the core of my heart, and I am always in their heart of a pure devotee. My devotee does not know anything else but me, and I do not know anything else but him. So this is the state of a pure devotee, and this is what Krishna is trying to tell us, how close, how much he loves his devotees. And we all know that of the 10 offenses to the holy name of the Lord, the first and the most dangerous offense is to blaspheme those devotees who are dedicated to spreading the glories of the holy name of the Lord. So we now are trying to get an idea about how much Vaishnava Prad was being done here. and how much Vaishnava aparadha is going to cause them to suffer. In this verse also, Lord Krishna is revealing one of the most greatest secrets, the most intimate of the divine feelings of his heart. Lord Krishna is revealing his heart in this verse. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Bhakta Vatsal, is captured by the love of his devotees. And throughout the scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam is just filled with repeated evidences of this. So there are many examples, but I thought I will just discuss a few. So one very nice example which I thought I would share is of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. So once Ambarish Maharaj, he was worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was in Vrindavan and he was observing the vow of Dwadashi. On Dwadashi, which is the day after Ekadashi, he was about to break his Ekadashi fast, and the great mystic yogi Durvasa, he appeared at his house and he became his guest. Now when a guest comes, we all have to offer him a nice seat, we have to offer him water, we have to offer him sweet words, and we have to offer him prasad. So he came home and Ambarish Maharaj, he offered his obeisances to him and received Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni, after accepting his invitation to have prasad, he said, I will go bathe in Yamuna and I will come back by noon. And Durvasa Muni went and he was very absorbed in samadhi and he did not come back very soon. And then Maharaj Ambarish, however, upon seeing the prarna time to break the time for the fast, it was soon approaching, he decided that according to the advice of learned Brahmanas and according to scriptures, we have to break that fast at a particular time. So he drank a little bit of water in accordance with the advice of the learned Brahmanas, just to observe the formality of breaking this fast. So by the mystic power, Durvasa Muni could understand what had happened, and he became enraged and he was very upset that how dare he drink water without offering me. And he then he came home and he began to chastise Ambarish Maharaj. But he was not satisfied. He was so angry and he was so enraged that from his hair he created a demon like fire of death. He created a demon which was appearing from his hair, which was like fire of death. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead could not tolerate this against his devotee. So to protect Ambarish Maharaj, he sent his Sudarshan Chakra, which immediately it vanquished that fiery demon. He got rid of that demon, he killed the demon, and the Sudarshan Chakra began to pursue who? Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni was so scared. He was running and he fled from Brahma Loka to Shiva Loka and to higher planets. But he could not protect himself from the wrath of the Sudarshan Chakra. So finally he went to the spiritual world. He went to Vaikuntha. He went to Lord Narayan. And he went and begged at his feet to protect him. But Lord Narayan could not excuse this person. Lord Narayan said, you have offended a Vaishnava. To be excused from such an offense, one must submit to the Vaishnava whom he has offended. You must take the dust of his lotus feet and he must forgive you. So Lord Narayan advised Durvasa Muni to go back to Ambarish Maharaj and beg forgiveness. So, guided by Lord Vishnu, Durvasa Muni went to Ambarish Maharaj and he begged forgiveness at his lotus feet. And Ambarish Maharaj was very much embarrassed. He was like, you are such a exalted Brahmana. Please do not do this. So he forgave him. And not only forgave him, he praised him. These were such good qualities by a Vaishnava. He forgiving nature, and he not only that, he praised him. He gave him the pedestal of a Brahmana, exalted Brahmana. And then he prayed, he offered prayers. Ambarish Maharaj offered prayers to Sudarshan Chakra that please stop this and relieve Durvasa Muni from this curse. So then Sudarshan Chakra returned to Lord Narayan and Durvasa Muni was thus saved. So here we are seeing an example of Krishna does not accept any aparad against his devotees. So you all can imagine what the Muslim soldiers and the Qazi will have to go through. Let's take another example of Vaishnava Aparad. So Vaishnava Aparad is so sinful that the Lord takes it seriously even when it comes to his own mother. And we know this very famous example, but just for the sake of revising and for the sake of relishing the Leela, we will discuss this. It is described that once Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he told Sachi Mata that you can never get Krishna Prem because you have committed an offense at the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya in your mind. So Sachi Mata became very much frightful. She said, I don't know when and how I have done this. So she was a very simple, humble and innocent devotee, and she understood that she had displeased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was none other than the Lord himself. She knew that also. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to his mother that you have no hope of going back to Krishna because this offense to a Vaishnava is very serious. Can you imagine how exalted she was, his own mother? How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not tolerate an offense by his own mother against his dear devotee, Advaita Acharya. So she said, what is it that I have done? What offense have I done? So he said that in your mind, you are blaming Advaita Acharya for influencing your older son to take sannyas, Vishwarup. She said you are blaming him and you are accusing him and you are unhappy about the fact that he had influenced his older son Vishwarup to take sannyas. So Sachi Devi then realized, she said, yes, I have committed an offense. What can I do to atone for this offense? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the only way is to, in your heart with great humility, desire true forgiveness. And you must do this by taking the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Advaita Acharya. So Sachi Mata said, but how will this be possible? He worships me like his mother. And because I am your mother, he will never allow me to touch your feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, but this is the only means, my dear mother. There is no other means. So in order to show the world how seriously he takes an offense to the devotees, he formulated a plan for his own mother. So when Advaita Acharya came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so Advaita Acharya offered full prostrated obeisances to Advaita Acharya. To Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he knew he was a Supreme Lord. So when Advaita Acharya was fully prostrated, Sachi Mata very secretly came from behind and she took the dust from his lotus feet. And she begged for forgiveness from her heart internally. Now when Advaita Acharya understood what had just happened, he was very shocked and he was very much embarrassed. She was the mother of his worshipable Lord. He worshipped her like his own mother. And he said, why have you done like this, O mother? And then Sachi Mata, she confessed that I have committed an offense against you. So please forgive me. So Advaita Acharya looked at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Advaita Acharya how it was necessary for the purification of his own mother. And he also did this to establish to the world that no one can escape. No matter how dear he is to Krishna, he cannot escape punishment if he offends Krishna's dear devotee. So it is also given in Bhakti Ratnakar that, we may think that how is it that Sachi Mata, the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot go back to Godhead. So in Bhakti Ratnakar it is given, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Priya Bhakta Dware Anyera Shiksha Kariye Ye Te Prakare. Means in this way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us through his dear devotees how we should not commit Vaishnava Aparad. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Priya Bhakta Dware Anyera Shiksha Karaye Ye Te Prakare. So this part of Chaitanya Bhagavat, these verses, we saw that great Vaishnava aparadha is being done, and how much we have to be very cautious while dealing with devotees. So we will go to next verse 108. Krishnera prasade hari dasera sharire alpa dukha nahi janme eteka prahare. By the mercy of Krishna, Haridas felt no pain whatsoever in spite of such heavy beatings. Asura prahareyena pralhada vigrahe kona dukha na janila sarva shastra kahe. The scriptures explain that Prahlad felt no pain when he was mercilessly beaten by the demons. Prahlad Maharaj, so Haridas Thakur, as we all know, is the combined incarnation of Brahma and Prahlad Maharaj. So, just as Hiranyakashipu tortured his Mahabhagavat son Prahlad in various ways, the sinful Muslims also began to torture Haridas Thakur in various ways. But like Bhaktaraj Prahlad, Haridas did not feel a tinge of pain. The quality of tolerance is like is natural for Mahabhagavats. They are so absorbed in constantly serving the Supreme Lord that incidents of the external world like torture cannot give them any anxiety. This is why Sri Gaurasundar has stated in his Sri Shikshashtaka that only one who is more tolerant than a tree is able to glorify the topics of Krishna, not others. If a practitioner is intolerant, he will not be able to glorify Hari, for we have seen innumerable cases in the world of persons averse to the Supreme Lord unfairly and unnecessarily attacking the all auspicious honest preachers engaged in chanting the names of Hari and trying to close his mouth, which is engaged in glorifying Lord Hari. The sinful society that is intoxicated by pride related with family, caste, wealth and material education always tries to completely stop glorification of Hari, which is the only absolute truth. Even on the dishonest pretext of duplicitously joining the Sankirtan party in name, they silently oppose chanting the holy names which are Satya Vastu, the absolute truth. Ei mata yavanera ashesha prahare Dukkhana janmai Haridas Thakurere. In the same way, Haridas felt no pain as he was mercilessly beaten by the Muslims. Haridas smare oe dukkha sarvatha chinde se ikshane Haridasera ki katha. One who simply remembers Haridas is immediately relieved of all miseries. How then could he be afflicted? What to speak of Haridas not feeling the distress from the severe torture, all the distress of a person who even remembers the incomparable tolerance of Haridas will also be completely destroyed. Sabe ye sakala papi gana tare mare Tara lagi dukha matra bhavena antare. Rather, Haridas felt sorry for the sinful guards engaged in beating him and prayed for them. For the benefit and deliverance of those sinful offenders who defy the Bhagavat Vaishnavas, the saintly persons consider them candidates for their mercy and they feel concerned within their hearts. Such characteristics are also seen in the lives of Jesus and Prophet Muhammad. So we have seen now a quality here described in Haridas Thakur, and that quality is of tolerance, Trinadapi Sunichena. And now we are beginning to see with the verse 112 that he is actually feeling sorry for the guards and he is actually wishing well for them. Text 113. Ei saba jivera Krishna karaha prasada mora drohe nahu esa bara aparadha. O Krishna, be merciful upon these living entities. Forgive their offense of torturing me. Now he is asking the Lord to forgive them for whatever he has done. If one defies the devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Lord becomes greatly displeased. Realizing that the Supreme Lord would be greatly displeased by the torture inflicted on him by the sinful Muslims, Thakur Haridas prayed at the lotus feet of the Lord for their benefit. The devotees of the Lord never pray. Let the minds of the living entities always remain distracted from the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, as this brings about their ruination. The Vaishnava Thakuras, who are compassionate to all living entities, never become the cause of others' inauspiciousness. So now we are seeing here that he is exhibiting the quality of tolerance. We see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkha daha agama payino nityas tam titikshva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons, and they arise from sense perception, from mind, O son of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So here Haridas Thakur is exhibiting tolerance. There is a very sweet story of Srila Prabhupada which I would like to tell. We should all know, after in the background of this, that a devotee of the level of Srila Prabhupada, devotee at the level of Haridas Thakur, the devotee knows that Krishna is the cause of all causes. After what Haridas is going through, Haridas Thakur, he knows that Krishna is the cause of all causes. There is a very sweet incident where Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta, and this was during the Second World War. And there were bombs being dropped, there were sirens going on all over Calcutta, and they were all being heard, and all the devotees were very distressed. Everyone was screaming, they were running on the streets, and they were saying, come to the shelters, come to the bomb shelters, come, go to the subways, let's hide. The bombs will fall on us and we will die, we will lose our lives. But Srila Prabhupada, at this time, when the devotees were around him, screaming and trying to hide, Srila Prabhupada was cooking for his devotees, and he was cooking for his deities. He was making puris. So the devotees, they came to Prabhupada and they said, Prabhupada, let's go to the bomb shelters. And Srila Prabhupada said, I am cooking puris for my deities. You can go if you want to. So everyone was thinking, these bombs, they were death personified, and they were running away everywhere, and they were telling Srila Prabhupada to come. But Srila Prabhupada told these devotees that I'm not coming, I'm going to cook puris for my deities. Because Srila Prabhupada said, I could see that Krishna was coming in the form of these bombs. So I was making some nice puris, and I knew since he was coming, I wanted to offer this nice puris to Krishna, who was coming in the form of bombs as death personified. So I was cooking puris for this special guest, Krishna. So he was seeing Krishna even in the most fearful condition of life. He didn't want to flee, he didn't want to hide, but he was realized. He was seeing Krishna in the most difficult situation in life. So a devotee is not concerned with the relative cause. A devotee is concerned with the absolute cause and the cause of all causes, which is Krishna. And this was the vision of Srila Prabhupada. And because he sees the hand of Krishna in every situation, therefore he is always happy, always peaceful, and always grateful. We see that in Haridas Thakur, while he's going through all this. He's peaceful, he's happy, he's grateful for whatever is coming, he's not complaining at all. So we remember this very beautiful verse by Brahmaji. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvagvapurbhir vidadhan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadhaya bhag. What does this mean? This is a very beautiful prayer by Brahmaji in 10th canto. It means that, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while waiting patiently and suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his hands, with his words, and with his body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So even in the face of the worst suffering, a devotee with folded hand thanks God for whatever situation he is in. He will pray that I deserve worse, but you are so kind, my Lord, that you are giving me this out of your mercy, because it will help me become your better servant. So whatever we go through, whatever Haridas Thakur is going through, this is his mindset, because this is how a pure devotee, a Vaishnava, will think. Even Bhakti Vinod Thakur also has very sweetly prayed in one of his bhajans, Manasa Deho Geho. He says, Maro bhi rakho bhi jo icha tohar nitya dasa prati tuva adhikar. Means slay me or protect me as you wish, O dear Krishna, because you are the master and I am your eternal servant. And then he goes on to say, Manasa Deho Geho Jo Kichu More Arapilu Tuapade Nanda Kishore. That is mind, body and family. Whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. So this is the prayer of all exalted devotees. So when we say Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas, what does it mean? It is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. And what does it mean to be a servant or a das? Servant means that you are existing. Your existence is for the pleasure of the person you are trying to serve. And if you think that he is existing for your pleasure, then you are no longer a servant. You are no longer servant. You are trying to be the master. If you feel that Krishna is existing for your pleasure, then you are misguided. So a true servant, in the sense, is unmotivated and he's not fussy or he's particular. Why? Because his duty is simply to be at the disposal of the pleasure of his master. So what is a true master? If we have described what is a true servant, what is a true master? A master is always protecting and caring for his servants. A good master will never give his servants what is not good for him. You will see Krishna will never give us. We may not see in the short term, but in the long run we will realize that he will not give us what is not good for our spiritual life. So a master is one who is genuinely concerned about your spiritual life. And that is the position of our Krishna. He is our master. And in this situation, it is said that he felt no pain. He was undisturbed. Haridas felt no pain as he was being mercilessly beaten by the Muslims. Sachi Mata yavanera ashesha prahare dukkha na janmai Haridasa Thakur. Why? Caitanya Mahaprabhu during his Mahaprakash Leela, he loves his devotee so much that he reveals during Mahaprakash Leela that all those beatings which you got at Pulyagram, O Haridas Thakur, I took them myself. And then he showed his back to Haridas Thakur and all his devotees, and his back had the bruises of all those whip marks, and he received all of them for the sake of his devotee. So yes, this is his love for his devotees. Caitanya Mahaprabhu, because he loved Haridas Thakur so much, Haridas Thakur was not feeling any pain. Now, we also know Lord Narsimhadev, he allowed Prahlad to be put through so many tribulations and so many prosecutions. And then Prahlad could have said, Oh Lord Narsimhadev, why didn't you appear when the first time they started torturing me, and why did you let me go through all these tribulations? Why did you not come when my father started harming me in the beginning? Why did you wait for so long to appear to save me? He didn't say that. But Prahlad said, my dear Lord, you are my pure master. You give me what I need. In life or death, pleasure or pain, honor or dishonor, I simply want your lotus feet on my head. I want to be your servant. So, devotees tolerate because of their love for Krishna, and because they are such dear to Krishna, Krishna helps them in some way or the other. Now we have to realize that the quality of tolerance here is exhibited by Haridas Thakur, but he is also exhibiting a beautiful quality of forgiveness. But tolerance and forgiveness, they have a very intimate connection. How? So what we exhibit externally is seen as tolerance. But when are we able to tolerate an insult or inconvenience? If we are inconvenienced about some situation, we may externally show, no, it's fine, the bed is pricking, or it's too hot in my room, or I have been insulted in public. But when are we actually able to tolerate the insult or inconvenience? When we tolerate it internally. The basis of this internal tolerance, dear devotees, is forgiveness. So external tolerance has to be tolerated by us internally, and we can only tolerate that internally when we forgive such people, when we forgive the offense. So the basis of internal tolerance is forgiveness, and we should wholeheartedly be able to forgive that person who has caused the inconvenience or apparently insulted us. So this is what Haridas Thakur is. He's not doing this externally. He's not just praying for those Muslim soldiers who are beating him just like that. No, he's tolerated it externally. He's tolerating it internally because he is truly forgiving them and feeling bad for them. I once heard from my Gurudev, Srila Radhanath Maharaj, that all of our activities of the sadhana, whatever we are doing, our chanting, our reading, our deity worship, our association, our kirtans, everything that we are doing should bring us to the point of acting appropriately at the spur of the moment. So are we acting appropriately at the spur of the moment is based on how our sadhana is. Let us take a few examples of this combination of forgiveness and tolerance. So when Dhruva Maharaj was insulted, the whole thing began is when he attempted to go and sit on the lap of his father Uttanapad. And then his father Uttanapad, he did not approve of it. And he did not approve and he did not welcome his son. Also, when Suruchi was chastising Dhruva Maharaj, Uttanapad Maharaj did not speak a single word. So first is, did he act appropriately by not taking his son on the lap? No, he did not act appropriately. Second, when Suruchi was chastising him, he did not take up for his son. So he did 2 acts of inappropriateness. Why? Because he was biased towards Suruchi, because he had more love for Suruchi than Suniti. Now, Uttanapad could not act appropriately at the spur of the moment. The ideal response would have been accepting Dhruva Maharaj on his lap and allowing him to sit, because he was just a small 5-year-old child, and also not like as a father but as a king, as an elder, he should have allowed that. When Suruchi was chastising Dhruva Maharaj, he did not say anything. So he was not acting appropriately at the spur of the moment. On the other hand, let us see the example of our exalted devotee Suniti, who is the mother of Dhruva Maharaj. So when Dhruva Maharaj was upset and angry, he ran to his mother and he went to Suniti. And as soon as Suniti, she had already heard of what had happened. She knew the whole scene, that my son was insulted and Suruchi said that you have to take a rebirth from my womb, Suruchi's womb, in order to be able to sit on his lap, and so on and so forth. We all know the details. But see Suniti's response. She embraced him while he was crying. So what did she do first? She comforted the small boy. She embraced him. Suniti was burning in pain. Can you imagine? She was burning in pain that her husband had neglected her and insulted her, and her son was insulted and neglected. Can you imagine the pain she was going through? She was very upset, but she was not displaying. She was acting appropriately. How was she acting appropriately? Let's see. First thing, what did she say to Dhruva? She said, "Dear Dhruva, my dear Dhruva, do not contemplate any harm for anyone who must have caused some problem to you." That means, do not wish bad for Suruchi, Uttanapad or her son. What a mature advice she gave. As soon as the son came, she could have easily said, "Oh my God, this Suruchi, she's so terrible. How could she have spoken those horrible words? And your father, I never expected this from him." No. First thing she told her son was, do not contemplate any harm for anyone who must have caused some problem to you. Then what did she do? Second thing what she did, she said, anyone who causes troubles to others will have to receive the similar difficulty or pain in their life. Now, be very cautious. Here she is not saying that because Suruchi did this to you and King Uttanapad did this to you, your father, they are going to get the same reaction. No, she didn't mean that. Her intention for saying this statement was that we have hurt somebody, you and me, Suniti and Dhruva Maharaj. In our past lives, we must have caused the same pain to someone. That is why we are receiving the same pain back through Suruchi. Did you see what a mature vision this lady had? And she is neglected by her husband. Her child is tortured, insulted. She is the daughter-in-law of Swayambhu Manu. But Suniti's endeavor was that no negative feelings should enter the small tender heart of my son Dhruva, because he is so hurt and he is so small. He shouldn't have to face all this. So she tried to remove all these negative feelings by telling him that don't desire any ill feelings for anyone. We probably caused this pain to ourselves because we probably dealt with this with someone in our previous life. And then what she said, that this is very exalted of her. She said, I can give you the affection of one mother, but Krishna can give you the affection of millions of mothers if you take shelter of him. So she maturely directed him to take shelter of Krishna. So all our activities and sadhana should bring us to the point of acting appropriately at the spur of the moment. But it is hard for us to do this because we have not achieved perfection in our sadhana yet. But we can try. How can we try? So if we can't act appropriately at the spur of the moment, then at least when you realize that you have not acted appropriately, what can we do? We can regret for it. We can regret that we acted inappropriately. Second is, we can take responsibility for it. Third is, we can remember it. And we should remember it, that we have done this bad act. We can rectify it and we should not repeat it. Okay? So regret for it, we should remember it, we should be responsible for it, we should rectify it, and we should not repeat it. So obviously Uttanapad, we all know, King Uttanapad regretted for what he did, and then later on he took responsibility for it and he treated Dhruva Maharaj and Suniti very well. But the worst thing, what can you do? The worst thing you can do is try to justify something which you have done wrong. So don't try to justify. That is the worst thing. Take responsibility for your action. So here, Suniti's deep forgiveness. First, Suniti tolerated and she deeply tolerated and deeply forgave. So Suniti's deep forgiveness and tolerance is exhibited here. Just like we are reading with what is happening with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is tolerating and at the same time he is forgiving. And how did she do this? And how are Haridas Thakur able to do this? Because they are great devotees of the Lord. Pure devotees. A Vaishnava who is a pure devotee of the Lord is able to exhibit all these qualities. So if we are externally tolerating something, the basis for forgiving is internal tolerance, and internal tolerance will come by forgiving. So first is external tolerance, which we always do, but we have to forgive and then we have to tolerate internally. So when we tolerate internally, we are able to forgive somebody. Now, we can give many examples like this. We can quote about Parikshit Maharaj also. He was also cursed to die in 7 days by Shringi. He had the ability to tolerate the curse and he forgave with absolutely no grudge. So we have very beautiful examples of Suniti, Parikshit Maharaj. We also have a very brilliant example in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Gopal Chakravarti had cursed Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur actually was presenting about the glories of holy name in the spiritual assembly of Hiranya Mujumdar and Govardhan Mujumdar. And Gopal Chakravarti, he criticized Haridas Thakur that you are exaggerating the glories of the holy name. So Gopal Chakravarti said, how can by just chanting Namabhas you can get Krishna Prem? I cannot agree with you. So Haridas Thakur said, no, but this is given in the Shastras. So Gopal Chakravarti said, okay, if you are wrong, then your nose will fall off. And he cursed him. And your nose will fall off. And after a few days, we know that Gopal Chakravarti actually developed leprosy and his nose fell off. And Haridas Thakur forgave Gopal Chakravarti. So this is another beautiful example where Haridas Thakur is exhibiting tolerance because he was insulted in the assembly. In that assembly, there were great stalwarts, there were sages, and they were all upset with Gopal Chakravarti. So he tolerated the insult and he forgave also. Then Haridas Thakur, there's another example of Haridas Thakur and Ramchandra Khan and the prostitute. We know that Ramchandra Khan was at Benapul and he could not tolerate the name, fame and respect which Haridas Thakur was receiving. And Haridas Thakur was worshipped and followed by all the people there. And they considered him an Acharya, Namacharya. What did he do? To defame him, he sent a prostitute. And he thought that when he catches her in her association, his fame will be gone. But what happened? The prostitute herself was transformed in 3 days. And Haridas Thakur forgave Ramchandra Khan and the prostitute. Not only forgave both of them, but transformed her into a great Vaishnavi. So much so that many great Vaishnavas used to come and offer her obeisances. She was that exalted, a devotee. And in fact, Haridas Thakur knew, even before Ramchandra Khan decided to send his people and send the prostitute, Haridas Thakur knew that Ramchandra Khan was going to have this plan for him. So he had actually decided to leave Benapur. But what happened? He decided to stay back. Haridas Thakur knew this was coming, but he, in spite of knowing, decided to stay back. Why? Out of his compassion. He was very compassionate. He said, this prostitute is coming all the way just to degrade me. What can I do for her? This was his mood. He said, okay, I will try and transform her into a Vaishnavi. So it was not just forgiveness. He was compassionate towards and well-wishing for her. And Haridas Thakur tolerated, he forgave, and he showed compassion. Srila Prabhupada presented 3 levels of non-enviousness in the first canto, first chapter, in text 1.1.2. He says, Dharma projita kaitavo tra paramo nirmat saranam satam. So what does nirmat saranam satam mean? Srila Prabhupada explains, nirmat saranam satam vedyam means Srimad Bhagavatam is understood by pure devotees of the Lord, those who are pure-hearted and who do not have any malice or envy towards anyone, non-envious people. So being non-envious means what? Now there are 3 levels of being non-envious. One level is that I do not feel envy for anyone, I'm not jealous of anyone when someone is doing better, that I don't feel any pain when someone is successful. That is level 1 of non-enviousness. There's another level. Second level is that I become his well-wisher. I support him. I assist him. That is second level of non-enviousness. And there's a third level of non-enviousness. And what is that third level? It is to establish a God-centric society where everyone is non-envious. Create so many non-envious people that you make a society out of it. And this is what our dear Srila Prabhupada did. He created an international society to try and create non-envious people, so that we are able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. So Haridas Thakur here, he tolerated Ramchandra Khan's insult, he forgave him, he forgave the prostitute, he exhibited compassion to the prostitute, and we also see that he glorified the holy name and established firm faith in the holy name. So many qualities of Srila Haridas Thakur are seen through this example. And if we see, all these qualities are again exhibited in all these verses we have just read. He tolerated the beatings by the Qazi and the soldiers, Muslim soldiers. He forgave them. He was compassionate to them, that he was praying to Krishna that they don't know what they are doing, please forgive them. And he was constantly chanting the whole holy name of the Lord while he was going through all these difficulties. So many beautiful qualities of Haridas Thakur have just manifested through these verses. He prayed for all of them. Even Prahlad Maharaj, he was being tortured so much by Hiranyakashipu. Even Prahlad Maharaj, when Narasimha Bhagwan asked him, what benediction do you want? Prahlad Maharaj didn't ask for any benediction. He said, I don't want anything, my dear Lord. I just want you that you show mercy to my father, be merciful to him. So Prahlad Maharaj also exhibited tolerance and forgiveness, which is again exhibited by Haridas Thakur. So real forgiveness must come from our heart, and when we are forgiving somebody, we must realize we must forgive wholeheartedly. For doing this, we are actually doing a favor on ourselves, because if we hold that envy in our heart, it will cause our degradation, it will cause anxiety to our mind, and it will cripple our intelligence. So with this, I will conclude today's talk with a very sweet pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada also would withstand, and he would also withstand severe bodily discomforts for the sake of spreading Krishna's mission. So once upon a time, not very long ago, in August 1974, Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and there was a lot of problem going on in construction of the Vrindavan temple. And there he had promised Krishna that he would build this beautiful temple for him, but somehow it was not happening. The construction was having some issue. There was problem with cement, there was problem with bricks, and Srila Prabhupada was very upset that things were not going as planned. So he became very heavy on the devotees, on his disciples, and he's like, why is this not happening? And not many people could help the situation, because there was shortage of cement, there was shortage of bricks, and all these problems were going on. And Srila Prabhupada was there, and 3 weeks he fell sick amidst all the situation in Vrindavan. And that time Shrutakirti Prabhu was his servant. And just that time they got the news that the governor of Delhi, of UP, was going to visit that same site where the temple was being built in Vrindavan, and that governor could possibly help with constructing the temple by providing the cement, which was in shortage that time. So Srila Prabhupada said that I want to go and meet the governor when he comes to Vrindavan. So all the devotees said, Srila Prabhupada, you are so sick. Since 3 weeks he had fever. He was barely eating few pieces of oranges and chiku. He was barely able to stand. He didn't have any bodily strength to perform his daily activities. He was being held by the devotees while even putting tilak. It took him 5 minutes to just put his tilak. But Srila Prabhupada was insistent. He said, no, I want to see the governor myself. So with that fever, Srila Prabhupada was dressed and he was taken that day. And the governor was invited to the International Society Festival of Krishna Consciousness, and they brought Prabhupada there, and Prabhupada was sitting there in a chair. And when the governor came, Srila Prabhupada was running 103 fever that day. Can you imagine? He was so old, and with that fever you get so much weakness. he was suffering a lot of bodily discomforts. So he stood up, he welcomed the governor. He had not eaten for days, he barely had any strength in his body, but he stood up, he welcomed the governor, he shook hands with the governor. And then he sat along while the governor gave a speech. The governor gave a speech on some industrialization and the progress. And one Garmi topic. Srila Prabhupada, who was not delivering lectures at that time because of his illness, he came up and he gave a lecture on culture and religion also. So he went through the speech. Not only that, Srila Prabhupada was not able to eat in such high fever. I don't think any of us will have an appetite to eat. So Prabhupada, just like he was having just fruits, but he ended up, just to please the governor, he ended up eating the whole feast there. And they had a talk, and things went smoothly. And as soon as the governor was done and he left, Srila Prabhupada stood up, he went to the car and he collapsed. He was running 105 fever. From 103, the fever had gone up to 105. And Prabhupada was very sick for many weeks after that. But then again, obviously, he recovered. He resumed his devotional services and preaching activities. But through this story, we realize that our dear Srila Prabhupada, to spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has also tolerated and withstood a lot of physical, mental and emotional discomforts. But still, he has marched ahead and established for us this beautiful society of Krishna consciousness, International Society of Krishna Consciousness by Srila Prabhupada. And in his attempt to create this beautiful society for us, which should be full of non-envious devotees, so that we can read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam and beautiful scriptures like Chaitanya Bhagavad, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is a very sweet quality exhibited by even our dear exalted Srila Prabhupada. So this was pretty much similar to what Haridas Thakur also went through. Srila Prabhupada at that old age went through all these problems of tolerance. He was tolerating all his problems, different types of devotees. He was forgiving, and at the same time he was compassionate. So all these qualities which are seen in Haridas Thakur are exhibited by Srila Prabhupada. So with this I will conclude for today. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Matajis. I would like
Hare
to
Krishna, Mata.
Hare Krishna. I would like to thank Preeti Vilasani Mataji and the Bhakti Sangha group for allowing me to serve and giving me this opportunity. Also, please forgive me if I committed any offense, and please feel free to correct or comment on anything I went wrong on. Thank you very much.
Krishna Mataji, can you hear me?
Yeah, Mataji, I can hear you.
Thank you, Mataji. Very, very beautiful class. I really love the theme, the way you related it to many stories and the life of many Vaishnava saints. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasant class, as you always do. Mataji, I had a question. I know this is very hard. Come up to the, of course, we can derive inspiration from those devotees in their lives. We can learn from them, and we try to imbibe to our limited capacity some of these qualities. But as a conditioned soul and having so many flaws in one's behavior, I face many challenges. Like, for example, you were talking about internal and external tolerance. Now, sometimes for me personally, of course, it's not a personal question, but it's just a situational question to you. So sometimes if a person is having issues in exhibiting external tolerance, meaning like, when I see something is I don't agree with, then I have the tendency to pour out whatever I think, I just take it out of my system, not to that person who is doing it, but just as an expression to someone who's very close to me, who may understand me. And then in the heart of the hearts, because you were talking about a situation where internal tolerance has to be developed, right? Eventually, you should have a forgiving heart. So once I pour out, I see within 15, 20 minutes, I'm ready to forgive that person. It's more of a pouring out problem. But then after I pour out, I feel miserable. Why am I behaving like this? And I don't know how to tweak that quality that is there in me. Do you have any suggestions? Of course, we hear, we take inspiration, but somehow I feel if I build it up in my system, I feel worse. Any suggestions or anything you feel like would help, please?
I'll attempt to answer this, Mataji. So yes, sometimes we are upset and we want to talk about it, but we have to realize our intention when we are pouring out our heart. Is our intention going to bring about a negative effect on the? Are we talking negatively about the Vaishnav? Is that going to bring about whoever you're talking to?
Right.
Suppose I'm talking to you about some devotee. While pouring out my heart to you about that devotee, in your heart, am I causing any negative effect about that devotee?
That person. Yeah.
That you should be very careful, because that will lead to Vaishnava aparadh.
Got it. Yeah.
Also, if you're pouring out your heart, let it be a superior who understands you and who also knows that devotee.
Got you. Yeah.
Let it be his superior, let it be the devotee superior also, and as far as possible, your superior. So he's able to judge your spiritual level, that person's spiritual level, and give an answer appropriately. So at any point when you're pouring out, just make sure that you're not belittling that devotee in the eyes of the other person.
Right.
That is followed, then it is okay to open your heart out. We all do at some point. We all have issues, like a wife will open to the husband, husband to the wife, or two best friends. But let it be for improving the situation.
Right. But not holding grudge for,
Yes.
Okay. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, let that outpour be for your spiritual upliftment and situational upliftment, rather than demeaning or belittling that devotee in the eyes of somebody else. This is what I feel, Mataji.
Yeah, very nice, Mataji. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Megha Mataji, you have a question.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Mataji, wonderful lecture. As always, is very pleasant, as what Priti Vilasini Mataji said. And this answer of yours was really, really amazing too. I had the same question as Priti Vilasini Mataji, and I'm sure many others might have also. I think I have two questions. Yes, I have two questions. So first, you gave this example of Dhruva Maharaj. How Suniti was able to not develop that hatred within the heart of Dhruva Maharaj by not agreeing to him in the matter of yes, your mother shouldn't have done that or anything like that. She instead tried to teach him to go to Krishna, and he can give you the love of all the mothers and whatnot, right? So sometimes in practicality, when we try to do that, so we see someone who's coming to us with a negative heart, and we try to tell them the other side, they might feel offended or not supported, because they feel that they're trying to come to us with an open heart and pouring their heart, and we're trying to give them the positivity of the other side, so that they don't keep that negativity in their heart. But then they don't feel supported at that point. It's not just a kid, it wouldn't be just my kid, but it would be even someone else who comes to us and wants that support. So at that point, what do we do? How do we answer them? Or how do we, because we don't want that negativity in their heart. So we try to do this, but they feel unsupported then. We can't hear you. I can't hear you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, that is a very common problem that we face. But, whenever we are trying to counsel or listen to somebody we have to be again very careful that we are not doing any Vaishnava aparadha in this case. We should not, we should try to counsel the person not by praising the person who has committed an issue, but by trying to find an alternative solution to look at the problem if nothing can be done. And if the other person is also a devotee, then you have to be extremely cautious. You have to not, it's okay if they feel a little unsupported, but you must try to explain to them the situation, that it will be a grave offense to talk ill about this person, because he is after all chanting the holy names of Krishna. So if there is an other alternative that we can come up with, let's sit and discuss that. Because we cannot pacify and please and appease everybody's negative thoughts about other people, but we can definitely find alternative solutions, like by changing association, or by talking to that other devotee, or sitting together, or reaching a point where you speak to a superior to resolve such issues where there's so much negativity about devotee in somebody's heart. So it definitely needs to be addressed. Higher help, superior counselors, but we should not feed by talking ill about the other devotee in any case.
Okay, and if that's not a devotee, so let's say it's not a non-devotee, right? But even just generally, some people might have this negativity towards someone, and we try to imbibe this positivity, and they feel unsupported then at that time. So, I mean, I don't want them to feel that I'm not supporting them. I'm trying to help them come out of the negativity. So how can we, I mean, this person is a devotee who I'm speaking with, but the one that they have negative feelings about is not a devotee. But I don't want that negativity in their heart. So I try to show them the other side, other value of the other person's, maybe perceptions, it could be, right?
Very nice. Yeah.
That midst, they feel that I'm not supporting them.
You should stick to your stand. You should not involve yourself in belittling or criticizing, even though they are not devotees, because you are a devotee.
Yeah. Okay.
Always remember that a Vaishnava, even though you are devotee, your duty is not just criticize devotees. Your duty is also to you are developing the virtue of not criticizing, whether it be devotee or non-devotee. You should be able to see both equally. So if they are not feeling supported, it's not your fault. It is they need to come to a higher level. So your duty would be try and preach them in a different way and find alternatives, but not to come down to their level.
I see. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Thank you. My other question to you is, what to do when we're in congregation association, and then obviously, when you're in the management positions, when you go into the deeper dive of servicing and everything, there will be, I guess, conflicts that you'll have within devotee communities, right? And in those instances at that time, when there's, now everyone is devotee, right? And there's like devotees talking about another devotee who is, kind of like on the rougher edge or something, and I feel that that's Vaishnava aparadha. But I don't know how to bring because the devotees are also senior who's talking about these things, right? Than me about some other devotees. So all the other devotees are senior to me, and I'm hearing this. I don't know how to, I don't know if I should. I tried, saying that it's not, there could be everyone has conditions, like all these different venues I tried to do, but at the same time I didn't want to just say no, you're wrong, to a devotee either. So I don't know how do I handle in that kind of situation. Should I just walk away, or should I don't want to get, even in my mind, these kinds of negative emotions, like, why are they Vaishnavas and talking about another Vaishnava after knowing all these things? I don't want to feel like that either.
Yes, Mantra. So management is a double-edged sword. It could really ruin your spiritual life. And we all face these situations, again, being in ISKCON and being in leadership positions or volunteering positions in the temple. It is best to avoid management positions if possible, if we feel that we are not at that level where we can walk away from a situation, or we are not able to tell them that I feel at this point we are criticizing him, I'm not able to go through this for the principle that I stick to, and you should walk away from the situation, or just say that I don't want to get involved in all this because I feel at this point there's too much talking going on, which is I'm not at that level to handle my spiritual life with all this talk. So you can say spiritually, I'm not that mature or high to handle this situation where so many Vaishnavas are being talked about or criticized. Please forgive me and excuse yourself from the situation.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. Haribol, Hare Krishna, done with pranam.
Yeah, and if they are senior devotees, so-called senior devotees, they will be able to understand the situation definitely. They should be able to.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, so glories to Prabhupada, all glories to you Mataji. Thank you so much for very, very beautiful class. I really like the way you connected so many words from Chaitanya Bhagavat to the pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, and of course Chaitanya Charitamrita, about Vaishnava Prad, about forgiveness, tolerance, yes. And really pray that whatever you said may go directly into my heart and I may be able to imbibe those qualities. But thank you for your enlightening session. Thank you always for reminding us about these wonderful qualities that a Vaishnava should possess. So really, really grateful to your class, Mataji. Grateful to you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I don't have any question, but really ask your prayers and blessings so that I can imbibe your class, the entire class in my life. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna. So I think we can end today.
Bhakti
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Thank you Mataji for this wonderful class. And it's always so, and it's always nice to hear from you both. And I really, I hope, as Kirtida Mataji said, that something should at least seep down. But I had a question, Mataji. Like when we talk about all these, like, the Vaishnava characters or characteristic which we should have and which we should imbibe, like, is there a difference between how we apply this into our devotional life? For devotional life, we definitely apply this. But how about in the material world when we are dealing with non-devotees and we are dealing with other people around? Like this tolerance level which is there, like, like humility is always taken for granted then, and then always that person has been suppressed or taken an advantage of. So then how to deal with such situations?
So if you are being taken advantage of and there is an element of malice in there, a devotee is not expected to tolerate where there is an element of negativity and malice towards you. If something is within the devotee community or outside that is malicious, then you should not tolerate it. If some physical harm, or if you're being, you should speak it out to them in a very Vaishnava way and try to explain to them that this is inappropriate. Can we find a solution around it? If it is physical abuse or mental abuse, emotional abuse, to the extent that it is hampering your daily activities in life, then it should be brought up and it should be addressed. But you are in no way expected to tolerate something from the material world which is detrimental to a great extent. Small tolerance we all have to do at workplace, tolerate little bit insults or tolerate extra workload. Sometimes the boss doesn't like you, so in my case sometimes, fortunately my boss likes me, but sometimes you get, all the crazy patients are sent to you who they don't want to follow up, other doctors don't want, so we have to tolerate all these things. So if you're talking about small tolerances, yes, we have to tolerate even in the material world. But if it is tolerance to the extent that it is causing your mental, physical or emotional state to tip off balance, it should be dealt with, and we are not expected to tolerate that.
Yeah, because what I have like experienced is like when you are with such a crowd, it tends, because as you said, in a management position, then you have to become like them, right? And then, or you have to like for example, I was in a school, and then there are some rules which like all the schools do not follow them, but then there are some rules which are not supposed to be implemented or not supposed to be done, but then we had to convey it to the parents, and it was such a situation where it was like a really hopeless situation. And then finally, when I couldn't deal with it, I just had to quit that. So then I felt like, one way I felt like, okay, I'm at least away from these all like negative people around. But then I always also I feel that, am I running around? And if I'm running away from them, how long will I run? Because every school, every place over here is the same, at least in the place where I am, like it is the same everywhere. So then it sometimes I feel that I'm running away from situations, I cannot handle it. And then it happens that then, okay, like, are you bringing your devotional life into your material life? Are you mingling them? And then that peace of mind is lost, and it becomes a big huge cry for yourself.
In my personal opinion, in my life, whenever I have done something that where I have lost the peace of my mind and my spiritual life is hampered, I have quit that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Decided not to do it. So I have not done a job where I've lost my, where I had a, when I lost my mental peace, I quit the job. If I felt I couldn't handle my spiritual life with a full-time job, I switched that. I'm just telling you about my personal experience, but I do understand what you're saying, that if materially you're not able to handle something, Mataji, you can switch to something else. I would advise you to switch to something else. Otherwise, if you decide to go with that, material life outside is very dangerous. It's deadly. Every day is a new day for us, and we have to learn to fight it, however it is, with all the problems in that case. But if you don't want to face these problems, you should switch your occupation or do something lighter, or don't do it again.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Your mental peace and spiritual life is lost. It's not worth it.
Thank you, Mataji. It's really sweet of you. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we still have one question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandat Pranam. A very nice class, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Damodar Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna Mataji. Radhe Radhe.
Hare Krishna. So we'll end the class now. Thank you so much.
Radhe Krishna, Radhabhava Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I have a question. Can I ask Mataji?
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, and thank you very much, Mataji. Mataji, my question is, normally we say to children, do you realize I am telling you this? And sometimes we tell, do you understand? So is there any difference between realization and understanding?
Who am I speaking to? I'm sorry, I'm a little...
Mataji, yes. My name is Bhakti Pradak Champakalata Devi Dasi, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes,
Hare
Mataji. Can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, Mataji, like I have a simple question, but I could not understand. That's why I'm asking, Mataji. Actually, normally, like we say to our kids sometimes, do you realize this thing? And sometimes we say, do you understand this thing? And I am not understanding, like, what is the difference between realization and understanding?
Okay. Do you have a context which you keep telling your kids that?
देखो ये बोल रही हूँ समझो, this kind of like for silly things also I say there is no context like that, but like we say अगर नहीं पढ़ो, if you don't study properly your marks will come down, and see if you watch so much of screen time then your eyes may spoil. Yeah.
Okay. I feel they are pretty similar and interrelated. Realization is a little heavy word, I feel, where small kids may find it hard to realize a lot of things at this tender age, but we can try to sit down with them and try to make them understand how good it is for them. But realization that they are not studying and they should study will come a little later. When they grow up, they will realize that, oh, what my mom did was good, and she pestered me to study, and she sat down and made me understand the importance of studying at that particular time. So realization, I feel, is a little heavier, will come later in life. Understanding is something what we can sit down with kids and make them understand.
Okay, so realizing is like Mataji, in simple terms, because I don't work and I don't speak a lot, I don't know big words, so I'm telling in small things only, which I do daily activity. Like when we add some spice in the kitchen, so we say we, after a long time of cooking, I understand that, I realize or understand what word I should use, I don't know. But after a long time, I'll understand that, see, this will become spicy if I add more. So this comes as a realization or understanding?
Yes, realization is always through some time lag and with experience.
Okay.
But it's not, I can't say that strictly it is like that, but mostly realization will come with time. Like, have you realized Krishna? No, so it will come with time. Have you understood Krishna? Well, you could to some extent in some time, but you have not realized Krishna yet. So
But even understanding Krishna is also,
it's hard to, nobody can understand Krishna, but it will, realization that you cannot understand Krishna will come with time. Interrelated, Mataji. So yeah, it is relative to what activities you're doing.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
We will end the class now. I have to continue with my work today. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We'll end the session for today.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta-koti Vaishnava
Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhagavad ki jai. Her Grace Radhabhava Mataji ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Beautiful class.
For the wonderful
Radhe, Radhe.
thing.
Hare